hands-on experiences. I really don't learn well if it's not hands-on. For my internship, I volunteered at Martha Jefferson Hospital with Sue Ann Asby. She's an RN. And I volunteered on the surgical patient unit. And I got to help them with all the patients. We would admit the patients. And after admitting them, we would prep them for surgery. And after we prepped them for surgery, we would send them to surgery, and then wait until they got back. And we would do our best to get them home as soon as possible. But some people, they wouldn't come straight back to us. They would have to go onto the floor because their surgery went different than they expected. And my goal when I was at my internship was to figure out if I liked being a nurse, if I love like the nursing side, or if I liked the doctor side, or just what really was for me. For my community service, my mentor was Gwen Valiani. She is a CNA teacher here at Louisa. She actually was my CNA teacher, and she has a bachelor's degree in counseling, and she minored in community health. She's been a nurse since 1978, and she is one of the best teachers I've ever had. She actually went out of her way to help me get my community service because I volunteered at Louisa Health and Rehabilitation Center after hours when I was training for my CNA. And she helped me understand the difference between a hospital and a nursing home because she's worked in both. And she's worked many places over the years. And she helped me understand the difference between between a patient and a resident. A resident is actually at a nursing home, and it's normally either a long-term or a rehabilitation, whereas hospital, you have patients who just come and go. You might interact with them, twice in 1 week, but then you might come back that Friday and they could be gone. For my community service, I volunteered after hours at the Louisa Health and Rehabilitation Center. I was able to get a real hands-on experience. I had the pleasure of helping elder people play bingo, feeding some. There's a lot of things that I'm not allowed to talk about, but I got to help them with their daily activities mostly. I also did a blood drive. We had the blood drive here at school, and I got to help with the people after they gave blood and before. I had to make sure that they drank a bottle of water before giving blood, and I had to make sure they didn't pass out after giving blood, so I had to make sure they had a snack and got a t-shirt afterwards. I also did a bingo drive. Every Tuesday, they play bingo at the nursing home, and we would help out when we went for clinics. The older people started getting really upset because they were winning like beads and stuffed animals, and they didn't want that. So I've tried to, we started Sammy Watson helped me start a Facebook page, but the flyers weren't something that like Miss Valiani actually pushed for. We tried to get her to change them, but she wasn't really accepting of like the usage that we had on the flyer, and she really didn't change what we had. My legacy, I think, is going to be the bingo, because a lot of the students in our classes now want to help with the bingo because they're seeing it firsthand and seeing all the prizes that they're receiving. And they're like, well, why aren't the older people getting better gifts or better presents? Because everyone wins in every game. My focus for my research was the relationship between doctors and nurses. As I volunteered at the hospital and the nursing home, I saw different interactions between how doctors interacted with the nurses on certain days or with a certain nurse, and their relationships are not as healthy as people make them out to be. And it's because, people are receiving the care and they're not seeing all the things that are going on in the hallway. A lot of nurses and doctors do not get along, and I saw that from a hands-on experience of emails being written to supervisors and just a lot of things that us as the patient, we don't see because they don't want us to see. I also saw that through the nursing home, the relationship between the doctors and nurses was a lot clear. It was very clear on what their job was and what the doctor's job was, and they communicated more clearly than the hospital. My personal impact. I didn't plan on doing the bingo, and I didn't really think that it was going to be such a big deal. But once I had talked to the residents at the nursing home, they were all for it. It actually changed a lot because a lot of the nurses on staff and the CNAs on staff actually want to help them more since they know that the residents do not like the presence now. For my future plans, I plan to attend Howard University and possibly I want to go into the medical field, but I haven't really decided what part I want to go into. I don't know if I want to be a doctor or a nurse. I just really up in the air. And I really want to give a big thank you to Martha Jefferson and Gwen Valiani and Sue Ann Asby for helping me understand the differences between the two the two medical environments, and really help me decide on where I want to be in the future. Are there any questions? Yes.
What things did you like the most about the job positions, like nursing?
I can't hear you. Can you say it again?
What things did you like the most about the job positions about being a nurse or doctor?
It was the hands-on experience. I got to see a lot of things. I actually got to see a man get his catheter put in. It was a very interesting experience. I wasn't expecting it. They called me in the room and were like, "Come here, you get to watch this." And then in the nursing home, all I see is the nurses handing out medication. There's really nothing. I mean, the nurses help the CNAs as much as possible, but mostly they just hand out meds.
Did you do any research regarding the role, or what research did you find regarding the role of, you said there's some disgruntlement between doctors and nurses. What research has been done on that, and what's the explanation? There is one, or?
The research is very slim to none. What I did find was that nurses and doctors have disagreements. The papers that I found are never going to say that doctors and nurses don't get along. They beat around the bush because they don't want the patient to feel uncomfortable or unsafe in that environment. So what I found was that they just have disagreements, but they work them out, which is not the case because I saw it for myself as I was in the hospital. Yeah.
Did you see a difference in the role definition
Between
the nurses and doctors? You have two things going. You have doctors versus nurses, and residential care versus patient care.
Yeah.
And you said there was some difference
Yeah.
in each one. Did you find any research to point to the fact that it might be role related, doctors versus nurses, and hospitals being the more stratified?
No, I thought it was because of the pressure, but it's actually personalities. That's what it is. Yeah, it's just many different personalities.
So thinking about that a little bit and having your personal experiences in both of those environments, did you kind of have any ideas about like how you think what you think would be a helpful way for that communication to go better, or any
I thought
that you could do when you go into the field?
I thought that they should talk more. A lot of how they communicate between each other is emails or like last minute rushing, and because the doctor won't like prompt himself the night before for the surgery, but the nurse did. So I thought that they should have like meetings before surgeries instead of the doctor taking home all the patient information and reading over it, or them not taking the patient information home. They need to have meetings before surgeries, before every surgery, so that they can talk everything out so everyone's on the same page. Yes.
You said you wanted to be in the medical field. Did you want to be patient side or lab side?
I don't know yet because I haven't really seen the lab side. I've seen the patient side. So I feel like if I experience some of the lab side, then I might want to go to the lab side. I haven't decided. Yes.
Did you like being in the hospital or the nursing home better?
The hospital. Because you don't get as you get attached to the patient, but it's not as bad in the nursing home because the people in the nursing home, some are there for rehabilitation, some that's their permanent home, and they're most likely going to pass away there. So if I'm working with that person every day, rather than working with this patient once and never seeing them again, I prefer that. Yes, ma'am.
What was the one skill that you either had or had developed that you didn't expect to have to use?
You said what skill?
Skill.
You came when you come back. You were talking about some of your hands-on things, and you had some stories to tell. One skill that you either had or you developed.
I had to learn to be gentle, very gentle, because I'm heavy-handed, and I didn't know that I was that heavy-handed until I was in the nursing home. And the lady was like, "I think you're brushing my hair really hard." And I was like, "I am. I'm so sorry." And I like freaked out and had a little breakdown. So she taught me actually how to be more gentle when I like brush her hair. Even though you don't think CNAs would be brushing people's hair, I had to learn a lot about also about care, about how certain people like their care done. There's certain residents who like to have a certain thing done every single day, same schedule, and I wasn't used to that. If I come in and I was ready to do it, they're not ready because it's not 5:30. So I had to pretty much get used to them first. Yes.
Did you have any experiences with any people like secretaries or something that people you didn't agree with or made it hard for you to do your
Yes, I did. I had a very different experience with a secretary at Martha Jefferson who did not care for me because I was volunteering there. She gave me a really hard time, and I didn't know how to go about the situation, so I had to be a little bit more assertive because I didn't want her to think she could walk all over me, so I had to speak my mind, but in a professional way. Okay. We have a break until 11:50.